The key is through the relationships. Recently on Black in America, there's a gentleman shown. This gentleman has a 100% success rate of getting young black students in college. 100%. I'm so happy he was there. The natural question I would ask is, hey, I got it. Let's replicate that. How about we replicate it? Because this is not rocket science here. But what does he have? And the reason why it's not so easily replicable is because it's him. Okay, hence he has a relationship with those children. He picked them up, he put them in his car, he put his heart, his soul, his life. Can you replicate him? Well, he's not the only one. But I would venture to say, and I would submit to you, every program, whether it's rehabilitative, whether you're dealing with youth, after school programs, any of them, that the common element is relationship. Because you see, that's what's fractured. If I believe you trust me, you believe in me, you love me, young, old, in between, it is going to foster a sense that is going to have me not only believe but achieve. And that's something, an element, not rocket science. Look at any program and you'll find that, well, when it comes down to it, they cared about me, they worked with me, they were there for me, they had my back. Those are all statements which suggest a relationship, which was firmly said at one point, that became fractioned now. So how do we get it back? How do we begin to create those things? You can't create a person, but that heart, that spirit is all over this country. It's black. It's not always black. You'll find it, like how do you replicate Mother Teresa? Okay? She was who she was. Martin Luther King, Malcolm. You see, there were those who have always would arise who felt that. But there are also many people who feel it. And that's the key, is to heal the relationship where it is. Where it is. And those young people believe in him. I would venture to say that sometimes programs here that are rehabilitative, prison, whatever it is, that when that person is removed, you throw money at it. Let's get 4 more buses. Then you get further away from what? The relationship. And you begin to see a different result. Because of the nature of the injury, it is the relationship that is most critical.
Okay, time for a last break. Malcolm X once said that land is the basis of independence, and it moves me to ask a question. Can you name any part of this planet where we dwell and control the economy where we dwell?
Sometimes we look like we control the economy. I don't know. Honestly, I'm sure there are areas, probably not very large.
Like this?
Yeah, not very large.
Where would you place that in your agenda for
healing?
Some healing.
Economics is right up there at the top. It really is. I mean, so much of this has to do with, again, there's a point at which you don't care if you like me. It's not about you liking me. It's about me having the right to exist and to be independent and to be able to survive in my environment in a manner that is appropriate and fair and just. So justice is critical, and justice implies equity as it relates to financial issues, and we know that that's huge. Of course, everybody knows that's huge right now.
Because it's a shock to go to Africa and see the total domination of African countries by Europeans.
And Chinese. Yeah, at this point. Yeah, Chinese.
In growing numbers, right?
In growing numbers. And again, I think that we have to recognize that we have to function as a global society. And a global society has responsibilities. Now, we can ignore that if we'd like. And I think that just like we ignore the global ecological system, you can ignore it if you like, but it eventually comes back to get you. All of us, And I think similarly, as we begin to look at these economies of countries all over the world, we look at the Sudan, and we look at, things that have gone on. It's just basically we've turned a deaf ear. Ultimately, that's going to reverberate back because we are a global society.
And what goes around? It
comes around, And really, I think that there has to be a matrix, and I am, of course, on the side of the hands-on, working with people, and that's great. But at the end of the day, they don't have a place to live and can't eat and can't work. I don't care how good that make them feel. Okay, I don't care how clear they are about their identity or their connection to their ancestral roots. If I don't have a place to sleep, I cannot gain food. I cannot care for myself or my family. Now we have a whole nother ball of wax. You see, it has to be a parallel process that not only must we start looking at ourselves and, you know, getting rid of certain behaviors, which I created a matrix to do that. We can begin to extricate that.
How can we self-examine? How? By what process?
There are a lot of processes, I think. The one that I've created and the one that, you know, I've been working so long, looking at this enough to go, okay, so how does one look at oneself? In my study guide, which is now printed and will be available very, very soon, within weeks. This study guide, there are parts of it where there's a matrix. So I give you examples from the book of what is vacant esteem, what is racist socialization, what is anger, what does that look like, starting with enslavement. Well, those are clear. There's certain behaviors that happen, and then there are behaviors that came out of that: self-hatred, good hair, light-skinned, what is that term? High, yellow, gone to waste. Crazy stuff, right? You have that. You have this anger, this distrust, this ambivalence that you have to deal with. And then you have this socialization process which continues to lie to you. Well, how do you begin to eradicate that? Then you look at it. What does it look like in my family? For example, you look at your own family, brings you all the way down to yourself. And then it says, what is your response with all you know now? Now that I understand where it came from, I understand what it started to look like, then I looked at how Mama and Grandpa and cousin and Pookie dealt with it. Now I got to ask myself, with all this knowledge, what am I going to do? How am I going to perceive myself? Am I a Negro? Am I colored? Am I the N-word? You know, am I black? Am I African? What are you going to tell your children? And what of that information, as you go through this matrix, this flow chart that helps you see it, what of that information is going to change now that you're going to share with the other generation? Not just with my family, but with the kid down the street and in the schools and within systems. How does one look at it? But you got to first be able to see the flow. That's the problem. We see enslavement. We don't see what that got to do with us. You got black kids right now that go, Afro, I don't got nothing to do with Africa. Right now. I don't have nothing to do with Africa. And if you look at the lyrics of Lil Wayne, it's scary, right? So you have all these different things. How did that happen? Where did it go amiss? That's why there has to be an assessment process. That's personally. On the flip side, there has to be justice. Has to be justice. Because while all of this is going on, there has to be a system by which I can plug into that is just, fair, equitable to me, and safe. So one cannot happen without the other. There's a matrix. We can certainly work
Power
with that.
concedes nothing without a demand. It never has and it never will.
Never will.
Frederick Douglass said that.
That's right. That's right.
You concur?
I concur.
So we've got to find the tools and the weapons to bring that about.
Parallel process. We got attorneys. We got folks in political positions. We have folks in criminal justice. We have folks social service down on the ground. We've all got to show up for this one. And everybody else out there that's interested. We need to show up for this.
Why the absentia? Why aren't enough? We used to have a word in the community where I grew up called jive.
Yeah, we have a lot of words that mean the same thing, you know. I think that, again, that we, you know, he who is in the frame cannot see the picture. You know, that is largely what it is, you know. And then there's some folks that say, there's no picture at all, you know. So we've got to get at the very root of things. And again, it's okay for us not to agree. It's okay for us not to, you know, because we're all different people. But
Okay.
we got to understand that what's in the frame.
There just isn't enough time ever to
Never.
talk to you.
There's never.
We're out of it. Thanks for being with us.
You're welcome.
Thanks for being with us.